compliment you need to know. I've got everyone in our family in Annapolis who's being tested because somebody in school tested positive that was in the room. So the beat just goes on here. So
I was just going to say, we actually, thank you guys last month, but my family we were positive.
really?
Yeah, my test never came back positive. My husband did come back positive. I had the same symptoms as he did, and our kids tested negative. So both times. So it was very interesting. We didn't, luckily, just had a couple days where it was really bad and then ended up feeling better. Some residual fatigue, but we're pretty health conscious, and we've been focused on building immune strength. So thankfully it wasn't really bad. But the accuracy of some of these tests are questionable.
Christina, what test did you use?
A PCR test. I actually went to a lab, Ren Labs, and I think they're in Brantford, and I was referred there by a doctor. It's where he said that a lot of the medical staff would go, and we actually paid for our tests because there was exposure on my son's side through school, like from his friends. So we went, and all of our tests came back negative. And the only reason we found out is once my husband started feeling better, he took the dogs out and they got skunked, and we all smelled it, but he couldn't. He was like, I don't smell anything.
Oh my God.
So he ordered Pixel by LabCorp. It's a test that comes straight to your house. It's PCR. You swab yourself, you drop it off in a FedEx drop off, you get your results within 24 to 48 hours. And that's how we found out. And so then we took the kids back to go get tested. But by the time I took the test again, it was still negative. I didn't have enough viral load in my body.
Please.
Well, I'm glad you're better.
Yeah.
We're all set now, sir.
Okay. I'd like to convene the December meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners. We'd like to welcome everyone, but let's start by our normal Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Captain, can you, will you know if a member of the public does sign on and would like to participate at some point?
Yes, sir. Right now it's Jenny Raff is here with her hand up.
Okay. We'll get to that portion of the meeting, but just if I miss it or can't visually see it, if you could make sure I don't ignore any member of the public.
Yes, sir.
So welcome, Al Goldberg. Thank you for attending as the Board of Selectmen liaison. Appreciate it as always. Is there a motion to accept our November 12th minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussions or corrections regarding the minutes? As I said, Christie is just does a very, very complete job. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as written,
Aye.
please say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are accepted. Public comments. I know we do have some members of the public. If they could just identify themselves and their address, and we'd be glad to entertain any public comments.
All right, sir. We have two so far. I'll move Jenny Raff over.
Okay.
And Cindy Bruckheimer has joined us as well, sir.
Okay. Jenny?
Yes. You hear me?
Sure. Yes, we can.
I just thought I would explain, you might remember me from the last meeting, the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I just wanted to let you know that I've decided that it probably would be a good idea for me to attend as many of your meetings as I can, just so I can get a sense of what you're working on and what you're doing, so that we can figure out the best way to cooperate, because we really do want to work with the police department and the police commission to, I think we share a lot of goals, and I just thought it'd be better if I were better informed. So
Okay.
I'll be hanging around.
Well, look at welcome. As I said, we're glad to have you participate in your input. We just signed off for the meeting schedule for 2021, which are normally the second Thursday of the month, but that is what will be officially posted on the town's website. If there are any changes to that meeting schedule, they'll be so noted. We have a requirement. I think it's 48 hours beforehand, but it's very rare for us to change a meeting date. But in the event it does occur, we'll post that well in advance of any meeting change. So
Okay, well,
welcome.
I'll just watch the website, and I just realized that I broke the law and didn't say who I was and what my address is. I apologize. It's Virginia Raff, and it's 81 Flintlock Road in Madison.
Well, you don't have to do that if you're famous in Madison. So fortunately, you're
got my number.
known. Right, we got your number, as they say. But anyway, Cindy, would you like to make comments at this time?
Yes. Hi, I'm Cindy Bruckheimer. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I live at 13 Franks Way in Madison, and I was reached out last month hoping to speak to you guys about a project that I was hoping to spearhead through the Madison Diversity and Inclusion Committee. We were hoping for approval, whether for a temporary or permanent Pride crosswalk on one of the Madison-owned towns. Some of the locations that people in the group had suggested, I know that it has to be a Madison-owned town. It can't be like a state road on Boston Post Road, but maybe near Daniel Hand, near the library and the post office, Bradley and Wall, Surf Club. Obviously not all of these locations, also open to any type of suggestions. The group, myself personally, will take responsibility for any cost associated with this and would follow any guidelines that were needed by the town. I don't know if you guys have any questions or.
Mm-hmm. So Cindy, I do remember the discussion. This would be comprised of kind of a painting across a particular walk.
Yes. So if you're not familiar, the Pride symbols are rainbow based. They've done them in other towns. I think the email I sent you, if you had gotten a chance to look at it, had a picture of the Pride crosswalk that they've done in Middletown. Some other towns in Connecticut have also done the crosswalks. Some things that they say are wonderful about them is that not only do they support, people in the town who need some support, but they're also make them a lot more visible to people. But yeah, I would need to be painted. They've done temporary ones or permanent ones, either of which would be wonderful. And any funds that were needed for it would definitely be paid for by the group.
Okay. Is there any reservations that anyone has about this, moving forward with the consideration of particular specific sites? Any concerns, Chief?
Yeah. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Cindy, what road is ideal? If it's a state highway, we're going to have to get permission from the state, Connecticut DOT first, and we'd have to submit a plan.
Yes, preferably a road that was Madison owned so that it wasn't something that had to go that far. So, I believe, I could be wrong, but like near the surf club, but not on Boston Post Road, or near Daniel Hand, somewhere along there. Open to any area, honestly, that would be willing to be done. Prefer though somewhere that was a Madison road, so that we wouldn't have to go as deep through getting approvals.
As an example, hypothetically, we were to put it on Meeting House by the Congregational Church.
Yep.
Okay, from where it comes out of the crosswalk of the actual park.
Yep.
So what we do is we draft up a plan using the town engineer.
Okay.
And what we do is just present it to this board for, authorization, and then we could probably get it done. I don't think the cost is, I'm not sure what the cost would be, but I think we'd research it, and I don't think it'd be astronomical.
Okay. So my next step would be to discuss this with the town engineer and come up with a proposal.
Well, I just made a note. I'm going to reach out to Johnny Anako, because I don't believe he's on this call.
Okay.
Zoom meeting, and follow up with the plan. And actually, we could do a sketch ourselves. If you stay on the meeting, you'll see we did one for Neck Road.
Okay.
So, and that's what I submitted, and that's what we're going to, that should work.
Okay,
Right.
wonderful.
Difficulties with the state roads.
Yeah.
Cindy, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
If you could come up with perhaps 2 alternatives,
Okay.
specifically that would, you think would best, again, following the guidelines that you've just noted, the 2 town roads, and maybe present those, just forward those to specific locations to the chief, as if they're equal, or if this is the one that you would prefer, but this is a secondary suggestion, and then we should be able to take it from there. If there is I think it would be helpful, as the chief said, if you said this is the particular design pattern in terms of width of the different colors, and it has to fit into the overall crosswalk dimensions, and then we should be good to go.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll definitely do that.
Okay, great.
Chairman Dowling, Ginny Raff has her hand up again, if I could allow her to speak.
Okay, sure. Jenny? Jenny, do you have a comment? Another comment?
Ginny, you're muted.
Sorry, oh, sorry, okay. Anyways, I think I see some shared goals here, and I just thought I should mention that there were so many crosswalk suggestions in the road safety assessment and the Safe Routes to School. Maybe we could achieve some of those crosswalks by working with Cindy's group. Just a wild thought.
Well, it would be fine. I mean, Jeannie, if you can refresh my memory, did you note you had some specific locations where you were recommending crosswalks? Am I correct?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would go with whatever Chief Drum says is the best place to do that. We'd be happy to get them anywhere. There's some that we think are more important than others, but anyways, instead of randomly painting a crosswalk, this would be putting a new crosswalk someplace where we don't have one and need one.
It sounds way too. That sounds way too logical. But...
Virginia, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. After that meeting and the presentation that you folks put on, myself and Tommy Carlos, we hit the ground running. So if you hang on the meeting, you're going to see we're going to start with Neck Road.
Oh,
you can see the enhancements, including compensation for bicyclists. So that's the start of the, I believe, 22 core suggestions that your presenter suggested to us. We've got 7 of those done already.
wonderful.
So we're going to move ahead. We probably move a little too fast for our town engineer, but we're going to move ahead anyway and get this done.
Wonderful.
So I said it. Okay. But if you hang around the meeting, you'll see when we get to Neck Road what we're going to do.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you both.
I'll be here.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Chief's report.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everybody. We'll start with the financials. We're fairly good. 10 rows down on the overtime replacement. This also came up last meeting when we talked about it. Apparently, a lot of the overtime was not taken out of a side account for all things COVID. It actually hit our direct overtime line. So they're going to replace, once they get the reimbursements, approximately $38,000 in that line that now sits minus $7,500.
Okay.
Okay. Some of the highlights of that line that are $28,000 was spent during the end of the summer for patrols. Also, about $8,500 was spent to backfill officers that were out with COVID symptoms or a COVID diagnosis. So we hope that we get our reimbursements, right, Al? And we'll put the money back in that account. Outside that, there isn't any unusual expenses or forecasted.
Okay, well, it is going to be an interesting financial fiscal year, I think, by the time we get to June. Can I just, I'm sorry, can I just jump back to Cindy and Ginny in terms of how do we close that in terms of that particular site location options? Cindy, if you could get your proposed locations to the chief, and chief, maybe if you could look at what was included with the bike and pedestrian committee and sync up where those locations are. So that would, I'm trying to think, what is the best way so that, to Ginny's point, here are some crosswalks that are being proposed, how they get to where Cindy is looking at possibilities.
Well, I mean, we, yes. I think that there's a few crosswalks that we're ready to move on, and actually one on a state road that they gave us permission based on a study I received back 3 weeks ago. And that has to do with the West Wharf at Route 1.
Well,
so I'm going to discuss that later in the meeting when we get to traffic.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this, just so I can get some closure to this in my mind. Cindy, if you can get your proposal in terms of the specific walks to the chief, we will then sync it up with what Ginny has suggested as potential. Chief, again, it'd be up to you, but my suggestion is stay away from the state roads, so that if we have total control over town roads, that's what I would go with, so we can get this done in a fairly timely way. So if you can get that information, the chief will move from there. Good.
Perfect.
So thank you. I'm sorry, Chief.
And actually, perhaps, Cindy, I'll put a Zoom meeting together also with your organization. We can sit there and toss around some of the possible locations.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
Alrighty.
Okay. Sorry, Chief.
Well, that's okay.
Activity
Sorry, Ginny has a comment again.
Just very briefly, if Cindy wants to see the safety reports I was talking about, they're on the, you can find them on the Bike Pedestrian Committee website, on the town website.
Thank you. I'll definitely check those out.
Good. Yeah, good suggestion, Jen. Thank you. Activity statistics?
Okay, well, we'll continue. I think we should extend the board to 7. Okay. All right. No, I'm done with finance, Chad. May I continue?
Yes.
Okay, so I sat with CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan. We had a discussion with some of the futures. Some of the discussions we were related to future dollars put aside for future projects. The only one that really stands out would be any enhancement to communications or the tower sites. I believe I reminded you folks last time that Route 79 will become a conundrum at some point in 2024-25 for the town. That site is paramount for all emergency services for the Route 1 corridor. we've worked on this in the last few weeks. We have more information, good news on one front. Looks like Verizon wants in on the tower at the Arts Barn. And so they've gone through 2 approvals already, and the third one is where they're going to come down next week with their RF engineers and then make a proposal to the town, which will then go to the Board of Selectmen for their discussion. So that's good news. They also went and looked at the sites in the area of the town surf club, and one of the light towers there is already pre-wired for a repeater type for communication cell phone, which has always been a dead spot down in that area in the beach. They also looked at a site further up by Exchange Field where they had an interest in constructing a tower and putting all public safety on it. So there's a lot of great news and good stuff, and I'll keep you folks apprised of how we make progress on this, and most certainly the Board of Selectmen, because it's in their area. So what I asked that when the CIP was a placeholder, we will retire the debt for phase 2. Phase 2 is the actual tower construction. That debt will be retired in the 23-24 fiscal year, followed by the subscriber equipment the next year after that. The subscriber equipment is portable radios in the cars, portable radios handheld on the officers. That debt will be retired then. So they're going to continue to contribute to that communication line on the CIP so that we build up at least a fund of a few $100,000, so that if we do have to make a dramatic change come 24-25 when the contract on Route 79 tower expires, we'll have funding in place to do it without having a huge impact on the taxpayers. So that was discussed. I also discussed very briefly, we talked about officer staffing, because I know that discussion came up when we went through the summer with COVID. Do we need additional officers? Things to that effect. There'll be a further discussion on that. We just got the release today, actually, from the state of Connecticut on staffing levels in all the police departments in the state of Connecticut. It's interesting reading. You'd be surprised where we fit in there based on population, land mass, calls for service. We sit at the bottom of staffing levels per 1,000 people. So that's a future discussion with this board. And I do have to have my budget in with the next couple of weeks. I believe that the first selectman would like to see it go at 0, except any increases that are contractual. There is a discussion of adding $10,000 to $20,000 into the purchase services line so that we, the Board of Police Commission, and this department can maintain the state traffic control signs around the town. We find that we're able to move a lot quicker than through the mechanism of the Department of Public Works. I'm not too sure if the engineer is in favor of that, but this board, after a brief discussion, seemed to be in favor of it. And I most certainly can get it done a lot quicker as well with Tom. So that's a future discussion when we go in the give and take portion of the budget process, which is like January, February.
Okay. What do you think if you were to establish a budget amount? What do you ballpark figure? What kind of dollars are we talking about?
Well, I think I'd have to do requests for bids on certain aspects of any additional signage. We are going through that process right now with Neck Road, and I'm waiting to get what the cost analysis is on that. But that's going to be additional stop sign, a stop bar, bike, cyclists, and pedestrian signs, a reduction in speed limit signs, increase in speed in one area, other warning signs, and probably a illuminated speed sign. So we're probably talking almost $10,000.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Because this came up at the last meeting when we discussed it. Are all the commissioners on board with what the chief is proposing? Because we've talked about it. We're not usurping any authority from John and his department. We have just found that by working together within the department, we're able to address residents' concerns if it's about signage, because it's a practical aspect of the job that we seem to be able to do it quicker and a little more efficiently than having to wait. and it's not changing any state regulations. It's not changing any safety regulations. We're really just reaching out and getting the job done quickly and efficiently. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that's the goal for this.
Yeah, I think it, as we've talked, that one of our frustrations has been how some of these, what we thought are relatively minor traffic signage issues in particular have dragged out for months. And so this certainly seems to make sense. On the other hand, Tom and the chief, I think we need to really be pretty clear with the town engineer over what are the projects and the signage that we're going to take care of versus what are the ones that are more extensive or require additional studies that the town is going to take care of. This has not happened, and we're trying to correct what has been a kind of a little more complex, apparently a more complex problem. But I also don't want to be in a position where, the town engineer is saying, well, I thought the police department was going to do it. And we're saying, well, that is one that requires a study or an approval. I thought you were going to do it. So I think we need to really set up some pretty clear parameters with the town engineer and this paper trail email to saying, we are going to do this on such and such date so that, there's absolute clarity over what we're going to do and when we're going to do it, as opposed to, our expectations about what the town engineer is going to do, because there's certainly going to be some projects that we're going to say, hey, that's one for the town engineer. We have not moved into a municipal service role here as a police department. This is strictly traffic related and has a certain urgency. That's why we're involved with it. So I just, if John were here, which again is perhaps one of our problems, I think we'd be able to clarify this pretty quickly. It just seems like it's much more of a coordinated area. It's not a competing effort between two town departments. So
the authority lies with the board and the LTA, myself, as far as authorizing the signage in the town or crosswalks on town roads. We seek the state's authorization and certification to go on the state roads. It just becomes frustrating, and I understand that his office is overwhelmed. They have a lot to do, but there's nothing more frustrating. And in my career on law enforcement, my career as my town selectman for years, nothing more frustrating to voters, people in government, is when they have to agonize over something which seems very simplistic. And if we look back, we look at some of the projects, and we're finishing up in front of Vista now with the crosswalk. And of course, they had to do a cut into the granite there. And there was a larger project. We get that. But do you remember how long it took us to get the stop sign, the three-way at Bradley and Wall?
Yeah.
And we're still negotiating, trying to get the lines painted and the lane changed on Route 450 at New Road, Hammonasset Connector. I mean, it's like you're negotiating with the UN. So,
and Ed, to add to that, when the golf club came back and asked us to look at the stop signs where the crossing was down on West Wharf, that request went right to the engineering department, and nothing happened to the point where the staff at the golf course actually came out and trimmed the trees so the stop sign became visible. So I know, Ed, you're so upset you left the meeting and walked out of the room, but I hope you come back relatively soon because we miss you.
More than words can say, I'm sure.
It's frustrating.
It was actually plugging in one of my meeting devices. Yeah, no, it is. But look, it makes it certainly makes sense. But again, the chief had a good point when we're talking about cutting into curbs. That's where we say, hey, that's a town service area that should be done.
Maybe Al will hear me out on this. In Government 101, they tell you to fix the pothole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's what people agonize in front of the house over. So these are very simplistic things that we can do. We can do it very quickly. But when it came to our attention, we weren't going anywhere movement on Surf Club Road at West Wharf. Tom and I talked one day, it was done in 2 days. And the cost analysis it wasn't that much money in the big picture. So I'm just saying is that we could help and relieve that pressure on his side and I have no problem taking it on. And I have a lot of help with Tom. So I just think that that's the route to go. Now, I think the give and take is that they may want to take the money out of his account and put it over with us. And that's probably where there's going to be the discussion. That's something that as we get into January and February, we could talk about it.
Sure. Well, look, it makes sense. I mean, if John's got some concerns or reservations about it, certainly, we can sit here at the next meeting or the February meeting and say, what are your reservations? Other than that, it absolutely makes sense. So we're good to go as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Move on to activity. The quarter will be produced in the January 2021 meeting. So I guess we could
right.
We can move on to training. And I know that in this past month, our training has been a second phase of weapons training for all personnel. And we also had the recertification for post for 12 of our officers. And that's about what we're able to fit in this month. But getting the 12 officers certified with the required hours was a feat in itself, and doing it online was even a greater challenge, and accomplished by the hard work of Captain Race.
Okay.
When it comes to training, Chief, are we up to speed with handguns and long guns as far as what the officers carry and have access to if ever was needed?
We're beyond what the normal is in the state of Connecticut. We shoot 3 times a year, averages once, sometimes once in 2 years for some other agencies. And
I'm
officers
talking
train
about the actual weapons.
They change in 3 different weapons and less lethal. They
Okay.
also train in de-escalation, and they train on some of the other electronic devices and beanbags, things of that effect on the weapons. So,
Are the officers required to certify any of their personal weapons that they would carry when they're off duty? How is that structured?
well, they're allowed to, when they qualify, and I believe it's the initial course, they're allowed to use one of their own personal weapons to get certified on, because that may be their off-duty carry.
Okay.
And that also, when they're carrying out of state, that's a requirement of House Bill 218, LEOSA.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
No.
Nope. Good.
Okay. Community calendar. Well, what we have is we just finished the Thanksgiving and food drive. It wasn't as robust as previous years, but it did help with the food bank, and also some of the other groups in town worked hard. They picked up the slack. So I don't have the number of how many families we actually service. Right now, we're distributing toys and some gift cards for Stop and Shop to clients here in the town of Madison. This is ongoing. They sign up, and I don't have a number for you, but we were a little nervous that we'd have a reduction in the toy drive, and absolutely not. It's amazing how people came in and brought in toys and brought in, we have folks that come every year. We have one gentleman who buys about 2 dozen coats every year and donates them to the town to distribute to those in need. So that's been very successful, and hats off to Miss Hodge, Miss Soul, Florence, Denise, Captain Race, Jeremy, Billy Roy, and the others that have worked on this project.
I saw the sign, the food drive sign. It was out in front today. So will that continue for a period?
A few more weeks, yes.
Okay. Okay, good. It's a wonderful, just an extraordinary effort on the part of the community supporting it. And again, I think the department's leadership in it is also a terrific connection, with the town. I know certainly from direct experience that the impact the toy donations have had both locally and at the Yale New Haven Hospital. So it's just a great program. So.
Okay. All right, one other item. It's been announced. Friday night, July 2nd, 2021. Be there. Ruby Square. It's the fireworks schedule with the rain date of July 5th. This allows the concert and the parade for the 2 days in between. So I spoke with Steve Atkins and seems to lead that group, and that's what they're shooting for. That's what they signed the contracts for, tentatively. So that's all we have on formulated community going into the beginning of the year.
Boy, I would love to have a discussion, perhaps in person, about the logistics relating to a July 2nd fireworks display. It would be great to have one of those discussions and have some concerns about the crowd and the number of the people attending and the traffic. It would be great. So let's hope we have it.
And I have one other item, sir.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I'm going to build up for him, for the captain. Just completed, as of 1,800 hours yesterday, our on-site inspection for our third CALIA accreditation, second reaccreditation for dispatch and for the Madison Police Department. We passed. Before I turn it over to Joe to explain what we went through and his hard work and others' hard work, the lead assessor, who comes from a 250 agency department, has been doing this since 2004. And we were his 151st on site during his tenure, which he's still doing that. They also had a chief from New York State, and they had a chief from North Carolina. I just want to tell you some of the comments they said. They said that they believe this department. One of them said you could eat off the floor in your evidence room. Never, ever has he seen that. But what the lead assessor said was that in his 150 plus inspections, and he could say this to us, your department is flawless. Joe, tell them what happened. Tell the commissioners what happened.
So this was the culmination of 4 years since our last award. We've had an annual inspection every year in March for years 1, 2, and 3, and then we had a inspection this past October. And based on all of those, when they came here, there were no policy issues identified, so nothing they really had to look extra hard in. So for 2.5 days while they were here, we set them up with, I think they counted 33 interviews. They talked to people internally and externally, and they said that they were impressed obviously by our operations, by what we do, our relationships in the community. But the thing that I think hit home the most was that they were so impressed with our people, the caliber of our officers, the caliber of our dispatchers, caliber of our civilian staff. They couldn't say enough. Every time they got done with an interview, I'd get a text or a phone call about how impressed they were with the level of professionalism in the officers that we've been hiring. And so I think that was really a testament to what we've been doing over the last few years under your guidance as we go through the hiring. And we've been in a great spot to be able to hire the best of the best. And that was one of their quotes, that we really do have the best of the best. So, through all the work for all the officers, we didn't get them all in front of the camera, but many of them had an opportunity to speak to the assessors on various subjects, be it promotions, training, things like that. And through the proofs that everyone has provided to me for the last 4 years, and Jeremy for the last couple of weeks, and Doug as he's been helping out, with all the work from everyone in the department, and the support of the commission and obviously the chief, we were successful once again. And they don't confer the accreditation upon us, but at this point, we really should have nothing to be very concerned about come mid-March of 21 when we have our virtual conference. We will not be able to attend an in-person conference in the spring. But again, it's hats off to everyone in this department and all the people that did speak to outside of the agency that did speak to the assessors. I thank them all.
Well, let me just make a comment, because I did have the opportunity to be interviewed by one of the lead assessors here, and we as a commission should feel very good about where this department is. And obviously the chief and Captain Race and the whole leadership team there deserves the ultimate responsibility, including the officers. But this is a big deal, and if it wasn't a big deal, then you'd see 70% of 50% of the departments around the country, slapping the CALIA certification up on their lobby wall. But you don't see that because it is just too hard to achieve it and to maintain it. It takes a lot of unexciting focus in terms of policies and procedures and making sure the processes that are in place and are followed every day are there. And somebody who says, assessor who says, how do you handle this situation? The answer is not memorized. It comes out because this is the way they handle it all the time. So when we get to March, this is not a self-aggrandized comment, but we should kind of step back as a commission and maybe, Chief, give some thought to how we could celebrate this a little more with members of the staff, including the dispatch. I'm not sure exactly, what kind of acknowledgement we could give to them, or what, small token we can give to them. But we should give some thought, because this is really something that a lot of departments strive for, and it just is too hard to sustain it over a period of new officers and changing circumstances and new equipment. It just is something that takes an awful lot of heavy lifting. Some of us who were on this commission, when the chief set this as an objective, we went through the first year and the second year of planning for it, and we know what a journey it was. So this is a great outcome. I know it's not absolutely finalized yet, but congratulations. And again, we should circle back when we get the formal notice in March, just to maybe beat the drum a little bit more. Certainly, there's always things you can improve, and we're not saying absolutely is we're there, we're done, but it just is a great outcome. So congratulations, Captain and Chief. It was terrific feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope that COVID somehow eases up come maybe next spring, because our awards ceremony is now overdue for a year, and in conjunction with our third reaccreditation, I think that it would be great doings if we could pull it off and have a gathering, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Okay, thank you for your support.
Yeah. Okay. Next, regional services is quiet. Not necessarily more bound, but it's quiet. We understand Clinton is still going through a little more active internal discussion and evaluation. So I'm supposed to hear as they reflect and go through their own internal process. So that, we'll see after the first of the year if that is bearing any fruit. They have a new town manager that's overseeing this kind of internal review process. So, we'll wait and see, anxiously, but we'll wait and see. So, correspondence? Chief?
I have two correspondence, Chief, the Commissioner, that I'm going to discuss with you folks in executive session.
Okay, we'll do that. Traffic issues?
No, we're good. We're good here. We've gone over the main points. There's nothing pending right now.
Okay. the one traffic issue, Chief, you might want to mention is the testing at Hammonasset State Park.
Could you repeat that, Commissioner?
The testing, we thought, we're concerned this might be a traffic issue, but the COVID testing that the state is now providing at Hammonasset State Park.
It's not an issue.
Right. Happened to be by there a couple of days. I was shocked. There were half a dozen cars one day and, 3 cars the next day. And again, I wasn't there on a weekend. Maybe it'll pick up, but they've got the entrance lines well marked if anyone's been by there. And it certainly does not seem to be reminiscent of the backup, to get your beach towel down in July. We did have some concerns about that. But Chief, I mean, have you heard any other feedback when it's been at its busiest?
Well, I think it's probably busier more on the weekends or on a sunny day and a Friday morning. Beginning of the week, it was also backed up a little bit. Generally, they have up to 60, 80 cars in line on the height that we've seen so far. They are going to be there in that location for approximately 3 months. They may become an inoculation site at some point, depending on the distribution. Right now, those are being based out of the different hospital health cares, most certainly the dominant one being Yale. But DEEP, Econ Police, they've stepped up. They're doing a great job. The organizers from the community health out of Middletown, they're fantastic people to work with. I have to tell you that much. They really are great. And all the people that are working, the National Guard, everybody's great. So we prepared for rain. We're having sunshine, and we'll enjoy it for a while, unless it backs up into Route 1.
Okay, good. Okay, new business, Chief?
I have 4 traffic issues that I have to discuss with the board.
Okay.
Tom's laughing, so I'm not gonna let you get away. Okay, the first one is we had a request the other day, and I'm gonna talk about it now if I may. Apparently, the Madison Country Club wants to put if you're going down Surf Club Road, you notice it's paved. People assume it's a sidewalk, but it's actually a golf cart path that they share with pedestrians. Everybody's aware of that when you enter the Surf Club from West Warwick. They want to do something similar from where their driveway is into the pro shop area and continue a path parallel to the road all the ways up to Surf Club Road. Now, right now they're working with Dave Anderson on this for zoning, but they wanted our input on that. I asked that, could we see something in diagram form, maybe a plan so that we can look at it other than just say, hey, we don't have a problem with the safety wise. I do know that you might recall years ago, we put stop signs and other signs up there. We had to push back from folks that lived on that road. So I'm not quite sure if they're going to get what they want once they start going through a hearing process. So our input may not matter at that point. But I told them I'd bring it to you folks for consideration. At some point when we have a schematic of what it is they're doing, an engineering plan, then I'll present it back to you folks. Tom and I will. Okay.
I think, Chief, I think a schematic is a good start for something that extensive. Just my comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second one I have, it goes back to Beach Road, off of Neck Road, the Beach Association. I'm still awaiting a legal opinion from our town council on this. I put a call in this week asking them if perhaps they could sunset it and do it before the end of the year. It's been about 3 months now.
You mean since you've gotten a response? You haven't gotten a response as yet?
I don't have a response. I have to get back to 3 town residents on that who live in that area.
Well, maybe, between meetings, we can give town council a nudge, or I'd be glad to make that call if you think it.
Actually, perhaps a call to Floyd Dugas.
Yeah.
From your office.
Yep.
Asking that we have a couple of the items that are there pending and we'd like to get the opinions on. So I would appreciate that. I'm sure the folks would. Thank you, sir. The 450 connector we discussed last meeting, it looks like they're going to wait for the spring to put down the markings. Essentially what they're going to do is isolate the road so that people are compelled to go to one lane, either make a right turn to go onto I-95 going southbound, make a right-hand turn further down the road. I think it's like 100 and something feet onto where River Road extends, New Road extends into the town of Clinton, or a left turn lane only going into New Road. Also, the installation of some sort of blinking device to warn operators on 450 connector. So I think that's not going to happen, at least my last discussion, until the spring.
How real, this has been our agenda for traffic now for multiple years. Is there any credibility to the spring on this at all, Chief, or are we just going to have to wait and see?
Well, we go another year on this, we could buy them a gold watch. I mean, how long is this going on?
We get a can of paint and some signs.
Yeah, I just think we're seeing a pattern of the accidents increasing now, particularly in the area of New Road.
Right.
New generation of drivers, nothing against them, but we have a lot of folks that the speeds are picking up. People are trying to get across the intersection. So I think we may temporarily put something there on to calm the traffic a little bit. Maybe perhaps dedicate a couple of radar days per week, but we're going to have to do something to slow it down and get folks to comply. So
I went down there on Monday and sat with a cup of coffee off New Road to see if there was any impact with the virus testing down at Hammonasset. And it seemed like every other car coming off New Road going north, turning right on the connector, at least every other car, every third car ran the stop sign on a regular basis. And there was almost one accident.
Well, there's a lot of,
historically.
There's a lot of locations in town that they have to redo the stop bars. They have to put in some sort of warning to the stop, and they have to make it the proper height. A lot of these signs are antiquated. They go back before some of the changes in the municipal code. So that's what we're working on. We'll get there. And, so, and the last one I have, if I may, is Neck Road to discuss it. Yeah. All right, Joe, I'll give it a shot. We'll see. You folks see that?
They're pretty
Yep.
exciting stuff here.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. What you're looking at is where Neck Road meets Route 1 behind the Schoolhouse Deli. All right. Currently, I apologize in advance. This is my drawing. I was trying to put something together visually to do this, and this is going back to my state police days of doing manual traffic templates. So where Neck Road meets Shorelands, right by the Watchers Nursing Center, and when you enter Neck Road coming on Route 1 southbound or westbound, depending on your point of view, and Route 1 goes northbound, eastbound. What they've done is they just paved that road. That road's better than 24 feet wide. It's also a highly traveled route, not only for traffic, but for bicyclists, also pedestrians. And a lot of our complaints we get has to do with the speed. We had a study conducted. They returned the study approximately 40 days ago with some suggestions, reduction in speed. The road does have enough width for us to add some other additional signage and provisions for the walking, pedestrian, and bicycle traffic. What I'd like to do is, right now there exists a stop sign where you first enter. If you're traveling on Route 1 going northbound, eastbound, you make a right-hand turn before the deli. It's a short road and there's a stop sign. We've improved the stop bar there. We're going to change the sign for a larger and it's a little bit higher sign there. So people will stop, because right now I've sat there and I've watched them, they roll right through. Across from that is a stop sign coming out of Shorelands Drive, right where you go to the entrance to Watchers Nursing. There also, we're going to enhance the stop bar. We're going to put a larger sign and have it comply with municipal standards. So it's going to be a little bit higher. Where there isn't a stop sign is where you come out of Neck Road coming from the west going east. You get to this intersection. It's they drive right through. So it creates somewhat a hazard because the speeds have picked up, particularly with the paving. So I'd like to put a stop sign there, make it a 3-way stop with a stop bar, of course, with warning. When you come in from Route 1 to Neck Road going westbound behind the deli, we're not going to have a sign. It's too short a distance for us to put a sign there. And I checked with State DOT and they said it wouldn't conform. So what we'd like to do is make that a 3-way intersection with stops, mark it as such with advanced warning. Oncoming traffic does not stop. You'll see to the left, those are the standard signs that would go there that comply. A 3-way stop would also be put on the same post. Prior to entering the intersection, probably a little less than 100 yards down the road, you'll see stop ahead signs. In addition to that, we're going to change the speed is reduced from 30 to 25 miles per hour at the recommendation of the DOT study. To further enhance that, east and west on Neck Road, I'd like to place so many yards apart pedestrian and bike signs on both sides. That's going to remind drivers that they're sharing the road. I originally wanted to try and physically put in bike lanes, but I got, it's still in discussion phase with engineering. So at this point, I guess I'm going to ask any questions, comments, or observations.
To me, it makes sense. I mean, that's an interesting intersection, as they say. What was the concern from engineering about putting in some stencils for bike lanes? It just seemed that would be a good, kind of a test case to see what effect it might have.
Engineering was not in favor of it.
Well, I know that. Did they express why?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I'm being very candid.
Okay.
I made it clear. I think it could accommodate that 3 feet on both sides. It still meets the requirement of the roadway. And it's a start. It's a start in what we saw in a project with Ginny Raff's group and Dave Anderson as to trying to make the roads pedestrian bike safety, provide for that. So this is a good road for us to start with. Second to this would be like Island Avenue. It's wide enough. With the markings on Neck Road, we're only going to go down to just about 150 yards past where the old Lady of Mercy School was, because the road then narrows.
Well, with all due respect to engineering, if there's a sense on your part that the road is wide enough and a bike lane stencil would work there, I think candidly, reminiscent of what the conversation we had earlier, let's plan on sitting down with Johnny Nacco and let him know that from a police department traffic authority, there was a consensus that this might be an appropriate roadway to look at the introduction of some more visible bike lane kind of orientation, and say, if we have some, if he has some specific objectives to it, let us know, and we've considered. Otherwise, you're going to be getting a letter, requesting that you do it. Who should we copy on the letter if there's not a legitimate reason to oppose this? So, I absolutely respect the role of the town engineer, but this is the kind of thing that we ended up in these badminton discussions without any closure to it, and we've got other things we've got to attend to. I mean, you and Tom put your finger on some really tough, challenging issues, and we haven't yet talked resolve to everyone's satisfaction, the Liberty Road Route 1 issue. So this is a little frustrating because some of this stuff is low hanging fruit. It's easy to do. You're in agreement. The bike safety committee kind of says, we spent some hours studying this. Let's do this stuff. So let me know what correspondence on behalf of the commission, I need to send John and Akko if we want to move ahead with it, come the spring. Let's do it.
I think what I'm going to do is have a sit down with him and with the first selectwoman.
That would be a good start.
And do it with an objective. Listen, this is for the town. We're trying to accommodate, there's some simple projects we can do and get them done rather quickly. And as I pointed out earlier, people agonize over this stuff. This is why people, their government's tough to them and, stuff doesn't get done. This is stuff we can get done. And I just don't like it when we put it on the agenda and then the agenda gets stuck somewhere. And then we bring it on the agenda again, another wave, and then we do it third, fourth time. We watch this. Of course, Peggy Lyons was on the police commission back when we had some of these things that we were talking back then, they still haven't been done. We're not talking about a lot of dollars. We're simply going out there, look at the site, see if we conform with the guidelines for municipalities and just get it done. Maybe I'm too much, I'm too anxious to get it done, but I think that Virginia Raff's crew, the group brought up some valid, these are things we can do. And in my world, as my grandfather used to say, the shovel no move by itself.
Well, let me know what we need. I think sitting down with John and Peggy is a good start. I mean, this is, we don't need confrontational. This is not the shootout at the OK Corral. It's kind of let's get together and do this. If there are real concerns, objections, let's get them on the table, and then let's move ahead with it. Anyway, so
we're just trying to help them with the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I think it's a good next step. Okay.
That's all I have for traffic, unless Tom has something else.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, we're through with the new business? You dealt with correspondence, and I know I'm asking your indulgence beforehand that we do have a pretty active executive session tonight, so we'll try to keep that relatively brief, but it is an important discussion to have. So we are going to move into executive session following this meeting. But in the interim, to get to that, any commissioner comments? Peggy? Excuse me, Marietta?
No, I have no comments. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
No, sir.
Ann?
No comments tonight.
Christina?
No comments.
Good. And I don't have any here. So I'd like to entertain a motion.
The chief has something, Ed.
Very quick, has everyone received the second Zoom meeting for executive session in their email?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody has it? Okay, all right. Okay. Just thank you to Virginia Raff for joining our meeting, and Christy. Thank you.
Good, thank you. So we're going to, well, let me first, is there a motion for us to move into executive session?
Yes, moved into executive session.
Okay, all those in favor?
Seconded by.
Okay, we'll now move into